If you were a heretic, if you were a Protestant heretic, you had a second option. Your second option was to refuse to admit your guilt to the Catholic Church, stay true to your beliefs, and face a public execution. This sketch shows you a heretic who is on stage in front of a town about to be executed. So the Inquisition was a violent time for the Catholic Church, but they felt if they showed this violence, it would strike fear in the heart of people and they would not criticize the church. The N in sins, no more false selling of indulgences and other abuses of power. This was said by Catholic leaders at meetings called the Council of Trent from 1545 to 1563. Here to the left, you see a painting of one of the meetings of the Council of Trent. The Catholic leaders eventually admit to themselves, we have to reform. We are corrupt. These indulgences, these tickets to heaven are not right. And there's one pope who calls these meetings to order. It's Pope Paul III. And the Council of Trent was a way the Catholic Church reaffirms or reestablishes church doctrine, doctrine being a set of beliefs. What types of things were talked about in these meetings? What were the agreed upon reforms? First, priests were required to attend seminary. They had to be educated to be leaders. Bishops must regularly visit their dioceses. Diocese is an area of land that the Catholic Church would oversee. Believe it or not, some bishops before this meeting did not visit the place they were supposed to oversee, showing their corruptness. The Council of Trent also said that the church must interpret the Bible, not the individual. This was a direct saying to talk to Martin Luther and say, you're wrong, Luther. The Council of Trent also set up the Society of Jesus. This was a Catholic missionary group that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it was important to spread the Catholic faith around the world. Lastly, the Council of Trent established the Index of Prohibited Books, first in 1559. They listed books and works by Protestants that had to be burned. They also said all Bibles must be in Latin. So this was a way to continue the Catholic Church's teachings. Society of Jesus, I just mentioned that. They were also called the Jesuits, and they were basically a spiritual army. They were founded by this man, Ignatius of Loyola, Spain. And the goals of the Jesuits. First, they wanted to build Catholic schools. Education was important to Jesuits. In fact, today in the US, Jesuits run 45 high schools and 28 colleges, including Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., near us. The second goal of Jesuits was to convert non-Christians to Catholicism by traveling around the world on mission trips. And the third goal of Jesuits was to stop the spread of Protestantism. How did Reform and the Reformation change cultural values and traditions? Well, at first, the Reformation was divisive. It divided the countries of Europe on religious principles, leading to religious intolerance. This is a period when there are a lot of conflict and many wars. Eventually, after the conflicts, after the dust settled, there was growth in Europe. Individualism set in. People were starting to form their own ideas about religion. And the focus was more on the individual belief. Secularism. People started to realize they could educate themselves not just on church matters, but on different kinds of matters. Science, history. Also, tolerance. The Catholic Church grew to understand they needed to live with the ideas of Luther and Calvin, and if not fully embrace them, at least accept them and tolerate them. That took a long time for the church to come to grips with. So the dust has settled. Let's look at a map of Europe after the Reformation. You see the different denominations of Christianity all across the continent. You see Lutherans in Northern Europe. You see Calvinists here in purple pockets in Europe. You see the Catholic Church still has a strong presence in Europe. And the Anglican Church, of course, that's going to be in England. And these dots show the Huguenots, the French Calvinists, and where they have settled. We're almost done. At this time, on page 11, please answer your summary questions. I wanted to show you a brief preview of next unit. Lesson 5 marks the end of Unit 2. Unit 3 explores the age of exploration. What does this map with different colored paths in the oceans have to do with exploration? These are the different explorers and their routes, opening up their minds and trade routes across the world. I wanted to give you a preview for next unit. We are done with Unit 2. Unit 3 focuses on the age of exploration and how explorers from Europe map and trade with many different countries. This is Mr. Deegan. Until next time, see you later. This is Mr. Deegan, signing off. Until next time, this is Mr. Deegan, signing off. Stop.